welcome to the Jamaica Selectboard meeting for Monday, March 28th. Just to ask for any late additions to the agenda from the board. Now, I have here an update on the roads, but I don't see our road foreman. I'm thinking he may have
Supposed to approve the minutes.
forgotten. No, this was this. Okay, I skipped one. I'm sorry.
He's too anxious about the other.
Move to approve the minutes from the March 14th Select Board meeting. I move we go.
You know what I just realized? I wasn't there. I read them. Can I approve them if I'm
Sure.
not present? Yeah, I second the motion.
I would just like clarification on the they in the discussion about the roads. The way it doesn't read in a way that makes it easy to figure out what is being said until you get into it a little further. And so if there were quotes around the they, I don't have them in front of me, but I just read them today. It said, they meaning, so it was a clarification of who the they is, what entity the they is in the report, and maybe even say, clarification on who they is when they're being discussed. I mean, I don't know how to word it exactly, but.
Who is
because I don't have it in front of me.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a
Never explaining which they,
Okay.
this, they, and I didn't put quotes around it, but I wrote, Kate would like clarification about the they on the roads. Quotes around the they would help to make this clearer.
That sounds good.
Well, right. So, but it's the planning commission is they.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Not in all of them.
Not in each,
No.
got
Yeah, sometimes
it.
it's the
Got
towns
it,
and-
got it. Got it.
But also, you knew what it said, and so you could make
Right.
sense of it. But when you first read it, if you don't know what it's going to say, it's hard to understand what it's saying.
Okay.
Do you know what
I know,
she's
I know
getting
what she's
at?
saying, yeah.
I'm going blind here with this, so, I'll
I
take
just
your.
read today, so
Yeah.
it's.
I reckon-
And I just looked at it. Do you want, I can show it to you?
No, I got them here, but all in favor of approving the amended minutes for the March 14th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes then. Number 3, I was so excited to get to, was an update on the roads, and I think Keith maybe forgot, maybe I should have reminded him that he was going to zoom in to answer any questions, but could you give us a little update on any concerns concerning the
Where things
last,
stand.
anything that I don't know?
I don't know. Well, we haven't gotten any phone calls in the last, or today, we didn't get it. Last week was a different story.
All the rest are frozen now.
We've been able to get material,
Yeah,
and
yeah. we've
the
been
road
through-
crew is taking, the worst roads, most populated roads first. Please don't take offense if you're on
Right.
we haven't forgotten anybody on any road. There was some lack of access to some material on one weekend. That weekend, it really got tough. And today, I've been working on Coleman Hill Road, and it's frozen ruts, so I expect,
Yeah,
we're not done with this yet.
Yeah.
And
as long as it doesn't freeze for too many days, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
we'll deal with it as best we can, but feel free to call anyone on the board,
Right.
and we'll talk to
We
Keith.
had, yeah, so we called in extra trucks, we had
Yes,
3
there's
that.
tandem.
Amity construction. several
We
trucks.
had Tommy Dano with his truck, we had all our trucks, we had breakdowns in our trucks.
2 of our trucks.
But the tandems can haul more than twice as much material as we
Right,
can.
right.
So
And they're not sinking in right now.
as of Wednesday, we were at about 60,000 that we've spent so far.
Okay.
And the state is looking into reimbursement, so,
Okay.
which is how I knew the 60,000,
Because
because,
you're tracking it for that.
yeah.
Perfect. do you happen to know, like, of the, like, I know personally my road, my husband's been grading it, so it's passable, but it's just been us doing, self-helping.
Yeah.
And we have a half a dozen full-time houses on our road. Do you know where things like where we stand in terms of the list of roads and?
Well, at the end of last week, every road had basically been touched in one way or another.
Except
yours.
Okay.
But
Which is
they had been down there, so they knew.
That Patrick was grading it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that might have been one reason why.
Okay.
That's what you get.
I do know that Friday they were back out on West Jamaica Road, which was probably the worst
The
road.
worst,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All of them. And they were hauling to the other end, so they come by my house, that's how I knew
Okay.
that they were
Get
hauling
in
out
there.
there. And that was Friday that they were going by, so.
Okay. And the roads that Sarah had circulated, like Smith and those roads have all been touched now?
Yeah, Turkey Mountain Road
Yes.
has had some rocks put in.
What about
Yeah.
Smith? I didn't dare drive up there, do you know?
I didn't drive on any roads for a couple reasons, not to make them worse, and meeting someone or a town truck and having to back up out of there.
Yeah.
Right. I went to beginnings, I didn't drive
I
in.
didn't drive West Jamaica
Right.
Road, I know
But
I could get through.
I wanted to kind of just take a peek up some of the bad spots. And when I last was able to get to Smith Road, it had not been touched, but that was probably a week ago. so-
Thursday, they were up.
No,
They
I
were
went
up
up
there
there a couple
Thursday.
times.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got calls about that road.
Good.
so did I.
All right.
Yes, Terry got some,
I'm sure Terry got some blistering calls.
one of them was.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And just, please have patience with the board and our office staff, we're doing the best we can. If you watch the news, I'm not minimizing any of this thing, but it's like an obscene mud season, especially just above us, a couple counties above us. It's made regional news on NESN. And, not that we don't have some problems on some roads that we can look at,
Right.
But we had this has never happened at my house. My drywall froze, and I'm pretty sure it's because I didn't have any snow in my yard. And we had 20 below zero with that whipping wind for weeks before I was able to put snow over that off my roof. So that had never happened in 22 years. So maybe that has something to do with it, but it was bad for us, and I'm afraid it's not over with yet.
So the other question I know I've been getting, I don't really have folks here and I don't have Keith, but it's more of a money issue, which is, do we keep a reserve for, over the winter? I thought we kept a stockpile for, sinkholes that might, appear before we can replenish fully. Is that not the case? Am I wrong?
Well, we don't stockpile anything except for sand, because they haul that in.
So we're not stockpiling any gravel or rocks?
No, because the pit is so close to here.
Right.
It's right there in East Jamaica, so
Right.
there's
But if
really
it's
no
closed-
But it
reason.
closes,
It's closed,
right.
and-
I
Well,
thought we used to keep
now-
a stockpile because of that. Even
I will
we had
say-
thaws in January.
The pit opened on Sunday, but they did not let Keith know that the pit was gonna open that day. Because Wardsboro hauled all day long on Sunday, and I asked Keith today, and he said no. Nobody let him know that they just opened it on Sunday, they didn't
Right.
open it on Saturday. But had he known, they would have hauled
Right.
Gravel,
stones.
stone, I mean.
But as far as you know, we've never kept a stockpile? Oh, okay.
And you have to
We would have to
take into
reload it.
consideration the amount of room that you've got to keep it. Tier 2, which is an emergency issue that he can speak to.
Mhm.
Not really money wise,
Okay,
but.
so it's not a financial thing?
No, no.
Okay,
But the other part of that is, why would you go to the pit and stockpile it 5 miles away, dump it, and then spend the money to pile it back in the truck and then take it out, when you can go directly to the pit and put it where it needs to be instead of that extra
Because
set.
there isn't any when we need it and they're closed. That would be
Right.
the only reason, but I mean.
Right.
Yeah,
is
but
there
I've
other
never,
solution?
this is the first time since I've been here that we would have really needed it on a weekend.
But also climate change is probably causing it to happen, that we have a mud season earlier than they're open.
Well, this year it was because we had no snow early on and the frost went deeper than it ever usually does, so.
But that could continue to happen.
And I suppose you could keep track of that and get it in the winter, you know? They're so busy in the summertime just trying to do all their summer stuff that either you'd have to spend more money to hire somebody to go get it and dump it in the yard, and then it becomes, where do you put it?
So it's a space issue, really.
Yeah.
Is there,
Well-
do we know why the quarry's closed?
I'm
That,
sorry.
do we know why the quarry is closed?
The pit?
that late?
Well, the pit is only open usually Monday through Friday. And truthfully, it doesn't usually open until now or a little later.
Right, it's not just that it's Monday through Friday, it's a seasonal
That I know,
operation.
I
Right.
know. So why,
Because there's not enough of a need, so it doesn't make financial sense
who's
for
in
them.
charge of that?
The private pit owner.
Yeah.
So
Right.
is
Yeah.
there
It's a
something-
commercial decision, yeah.
Can they be appealed to or?
Well, they open
That-
Sunday.
They're not gonna pay to open that for a minuscule amount of people coming in there. to
It's
get
like
it.
starting up operations, like, you know, it's not necessarily feasible, it's very expensive. You know, these things are budgeted and planned on an annual basis. So to expect it, yeah, it's more if we, I mean, I feel like I can remember seasons where we did not have access to gravel when we needed it. It just, this year happened to be so many roads in
Yeah.
such bad condition. I just don't, and I could have this completely wrong, but I seem to remember that it's, you know, we're always caught a little short in the
Yeah.
spring.
Every town is, so.
But then 2 years ago, you know, the mud season lasted for 2 days and then it was gone. It was over. So,
Right.
you just
We
don't.
didn't-
But you
really
use the
ever-
gravel. I mean, you use the gravel all summer
Crushed
long, so
stone.
it's not that it would go to waste. It's insurance against, you know,
Yeah.
a bad outcome.
I mean, if the pit were 30 miles away, then I would say, yeah, probably stockpiling might make a little more sense. But since it's right here,
And
and we would have had access, I mean, if we needed it, I'm sure Hunter probably has stone in his pit, which is in Londonderry, to do maybe that end of town, so it's not so far.
Right, that was a question I had. Did we think about getting from other, I thought nobody had, but someone else said to me, no, there was some
Well,
gravel around.
I'm not sure that that was even thought of at the time. They were
Okay.
just, they knew that Sersasimo was open and that the material was there, so.
Right, or that it was going to open soon,
I
yeah.
thought in that email Charlie wrote that the pits were all closed, not just Jamaica's, for the
No,
winter.
I didn't get that.
Well,
email.
I think the pits were closed, but there are other businesses that stockpile and sell gravel. That's what I was.
and not every pit is closed, because I don't think Hunter's pit is closed. I mean, I didn't talk to Scott Howe to know whether his pit was open or closed.
Right. I don't think of him really, he's more like, doesn't he stockpile? Or he's,
No, he has a pit.
He
They
has-
both have pits.
that
He's
they
still in
operate
business?
continuously?
Mhm.
Right.
Okay,
Good
so-
to know.
I talked to some other selectmen and clerks, and we weren't the only town.
Yeah.
Famous
Oh,
town.
absolutely.
No, I'm just saying,
But that doesn't mean we don't.
Townsend in particular had a real time before we started, you know, up around Holt's. I mean, you know, that.
I
Guy
don't
told me
think
it just went to hell in like one day.
Can you just briefly explain the tier 2, because that's not in my.
One of the issues about storing our stone is, right now, that puts it into a floodplain. Any place on the property, and because of the way stone, believe it or not, is explosive, and not so much explosive, carcinogen, it has to be maintained. The tier 2 system is designed to let fire departments know where explosive or corrosive materials are. So anybody who has stores corrosive or explosive materials or carcinogenic materials has to report it to the state and to the local fire departments. So there's rules about how you can store that and where you can store it, and there's no place on our current canvas.
Garage is.
The garage area, that is satisfactory to storing. And so it's not just rocks. Rocks are like rocks. But when you start dealing with somebody got cancer from a rock in 1952, and there we are. So
So it triggers it because of the carcinogenic
Yeah.
quality, not explosive.
Well,
It's just,
Or like
Technically
river
speaking-
rock stones. like
technically
that.
speaking, the
That
dust
Oh, the dust
is
is
explosive.
carcinogenic. Oh, it's explosive.
Yeah, the dust technically explosive. I've never seen it explode, but I've read about stories. But mostly it's this carcinogenic properties of the stone dust that's created rubbing rocks together. And that's part of it. So it's listed as a carcinogen and as a corrosive, I believe, in the tier 2 system. So it seems so simple. Put rocks there, but it doesn't work out.
another thing your town crew is dealing with, dust.
Yeah, I mean, that's just another layer of, things that you wouldn't ever think of.
Right.
That
so
goes under the
there's-
heading of
Right,
things you
right.
would not ever think of.
So we have to pay for some mechanism to store it.
Yes, and that would get pretty expensive because then you're building structures that are not permeable, so we don't have to worry
Is it
about
the concrete, those concrete stalls?
Well, and that's, again, construction within the water.
We couldn't do it on that property.
No, that property.
Couldn't do it on the
Because
transfer
of the
station.
the floodplain?
Yeah,
Yeah, see, the garage is not in the floodplain, but the rest of that.
because we elevated the
Flat
garage.
area.
Yeah.
And we can't put anything on the transfer station, I don't think.
No, the transfer station, no, I don't know about that, but I was thinking
No,
about the
because
garage.
that was a landfill.
Right. That's
Oh, right,
already
yeah.
That's
toxic.
carcinogenic.
So, sorry,
But that's very, thank you.
Yeah, it's one of these things that it was, oops, sorry.
Oh, someone trying to come in?
Well, it hasn't. So hopefully it's Keith.
Huh.
I heard the phone ringing and it made me look. I was like,
is it Keith?
At one time when I was still involved with the tier 2 things,
Uh-huh.
I learned a lot about the stuff I never dreamed of.
Right.
You know, it's one of these things that you wouldn't even think of it, yet it's apparently common knowledge to people who know about these things.
Mm-hmm.
Because we literally have to report gravel pits.
Right.
Oh, there's a man, he can tell you.
Have you been listening to our supposition?
I don't know
Thank you,
if it's-
Terry.
Can we hear it?
Has anyone got any, hi Keith,
Hey,
how are you?
good.
We were just talking about the conditions of the road. Terry gave us a little update. Is there anything you'd like to tell us? Like, how's it going?
Questions, anything?
What?
What did he say?
What did
He
you
says,
say?
you got any questions?
Oh,
Well, we've kind of discussed
I already
that.
answered him for you.
Yeah.
We were just,
Are there any ongoing hotspots that are still on your list that you haven't gotten to yet, that we can update the town on?
Nothing really. I mean, stuff is drying up. We're going back daily to the hot spots, but they're going by now. We're looking probably next week as it warms up. We're going to start to do the initial scrape to just make roads so you don't break your car in the bumps. But the mud essentially is gone at this point.
goes to show what I know. I thought maybe we were gonna see some more frost come up, but hopefully not.
I don't think so. I think it turned the corner.
Good. Okay.
Snow in the rain helps, gets it out of there.
One other thing we were just discussing, and Paul explained tier 2.
Ish, yeah. We were talking about the problems with storing gravel at your location, and I mentioned the tier 2 complications and the river corridor complications and all the reasons why having our own little gravel storage area causes fits with the state. Do you want to add anything to that?
You mean as far as like the town owning a gravel pit?
Yeah.
No,
Not a
the
pit
town
itself, just
storing an emergency
for emergency.
stash over the winter.
Stock.
Yeah, that's fine. The only trouble is if we store, let's just say we store 500 yards of gravel or stone in the fall. It freezes. And then when we go to use it, there's only about 150 yards available because the shell that grows over it during the winter is so thick because it's never been touched that it's only the very inner portion of the pile that's usable.
Wow.
And we end up with these big giant sheets of frost. We tried this several years ago storing stone, and the problem is our loader isn't big enough even to get into the pile to use it.
Wow.
Sir Sosimo's pit, when they do open, they have monster loaders. They go there and they spend the whole first day just getting into their own piles and shipping away these big sheets of 4 foot thick frost that form on the pile. And they have 5,000 yard piles, so they can do that. They can take these big sheets of frost around the backside of the pile, and as they thaw, they get to reuse it. But for us, in an emergency situation, there's so little that's available if we store 500 yards or even 1,000 yards. Typically in a regular mud year, we can just use some of our winter sand. Works fine. It seems to dry stuff up, but that's only because we've been digging at it all winter. So there's no giant frost shell. But this year was the last really big mud year we had was the spring after Irene. It was a really big mud year, bigger than this one. And it was the same kind of deal. We had some stone and gravel to use, but it doesn't hold out long.
Okay, good to know.
Any other questions for Keith? Well, thank you guys, and let us know if we can help in any way. And thanks for coming on. I'm not speaking for Greg or anything, but we may see if you might want to come on, once a month or something, just to tell us things like that. I couldn't explain that. Like, I've gone and got sand for my driveway and know about that shell you're talking about. I have to go and get your sifted stuff. You know what I mean? So I didn't know that gravel, I guess I would assume gravel would do that too. So those are the kind of questions I don't know the answers to. And I get asked a lot of questions lately, but I've been telling people we're doing the best we can right now.
I mean, I can give you the roundabout as far as this year was exceptional in the sense that it rained on a Thursday night, and on a Friday it went to 70 degrees and everything went to mush. A lot of it is traffic. No, it's probably 80% traffic. There was only a half a dozen roads in reality that really went bad. The trouble is that we don't have any control over UPS,
Right.
oil trucks. They kill the road. And it's funny, you don't see oil trucks, you don't notice them until the road is completely soft. And then that's all you see is oil trucks with 3,000 gallons on heading down a soft dirt road. And that kills it. It's just one of those things that it's like a 4-day event really every year, and every so many years it's exceptional. The weather and everything all hits at the same time and you get it, but it's mostly the in and out roads. In the like Coal Pond, there's no other way out of Coal Pond. So there's 75 residents there, and each one goes in and out only once a day, and 15 of those residents get a FedEx or UPS, and 10 of those residents get a twice a month oil fill. The road's garbage, day one.
It's 200 tons.
So there's not a lot you can do. I mean, you can throw gravel at the mud, but as soon as you fix it, it's like the assumption is that it's done for good, and everyone goes right back to normal procedure. And the next day, you're at zero again. So that's kind of what we're battling. Some roads, I mean, people know, in East Jamaica, for instance, Turkey Mountain, I think most of the people know, the more you travel, the more it wrecks the road. So it's not quite so bad, but what I call the skier roads, where it's all second homes, they don't know that, and that's what happens.
And our overweight permits, do we have like a season, or is it that they don't go on, is that now?
There's a sticker that gets put on.
A disclaimer or something?
March to May,
Yeah, Mark.
I think.
Yeah, just so people know that when we get the overweight permits, there is a, what do you call that? Is it a disclaimer or a reminder to stay off the back roads from such and such a date? We're in that right now, so. All those permits we signed last meeting, those trucks aren't supposed to be, log trucks, dump trucks, except for ours, are supposed to stay off them. I don't think all of them do, but they don't want to get stuck either.
Right.
So,
I think most of the independent truckers and everything are pretty respectful of that. They, if someone is logging, for instance, they are definitely getting their logs at 4 a.m. when
Right.
things are still frozen. But the oil trucks are essential services. They can go, you cannot post for essential services.
right, I know.
But I've never had trouble with log truckers. If I did, and I asked them once, it was done. Because they know it's their bread and butter.
Right.
And if they get shut off, they're done for good. So they're pretty respectful.
And they risk not getting a permit the next time, just so the public knows.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thanks for coming on, Keith.
Sorry I was late. I showered, spaced it.
Did you get my text?
He was in the
Am I
shower.
messing?
He was in the shower.
Thanks.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks again. All right. Do we have more weight permits?
Well,
There's two.
we
got number
don't skip
4.
the town sign.
Sign.
Man, I gotta get my cheaters out.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yes, okay. Approve replacing the town sign. I want to make a little comment on this. I had no idea that the sign was getting looked at until I saw an email about it being up in Manchester or something. And I got a request from a citizen after that sign laid down, after the last flood or water incident, that we should move it
July
down.
29.
We should move it to the shed, or, pick it up, because it was just laying there. I never got to look at it. I got some pictures of our sign coming into town, which seems to be, has a little bit of some rust bleed off a couple of nails, but it looks to be pretty sound. My understanding, I think the sign is in the old mill building. I asked the guy who was looking at it if it was still in his possession, and he said no. So I think it's over there, but I think before we spend $1,000 on something I didn't know we were doing. Did anyone else know?
I didn't.
I did. It was, I thought there was an email to all of us about this.
Not until-
We talked about it a while ago.
I might have not been at that meeting, but I don't remember.
There were several emails just
Remember this, right, it
since
was-
the last meeting.
Right, but the sign went down after the July 29
Right,
flood.
and laid there.
So we actually talked about it a few times after, and the consensus was we definitely wanted, whether it was replacing the sign or refurbishing the old sign, we wanted it back up.
Right.
And so it was looked at. I was not involved, I'm just telling you what I know. And I happen to know a bit about the signs because the other one is actually on my property. So there's an easement to the town, to, you know what I mean, for that sign. And where that sign is located, it doesn't take as much of a beating as the
Right.
other sign. Like, the other sign has always been a little worn as compared to the one, that's at the top of Meadows Road.
Right.
So it didn't surprise me when the sign maker said, I can repair this, but
Right.
it's, what
I'm looking
was
for
it,
the-
from 07, I think? It's a wooden sign on the bottom of a hill that, gets a lot of spray and a lot of, plow, blah, blah, blah. Whereas the one that's, the one on my property it's a little bit more protected. It doesn't get quite as beaten by the gravel and the
I
snow.
know, I looked at it.
Yeah,
I just hadn't seen the other one.
right.
and
So it
that's
didn't
all.
surprise me, and,
It's like $1,000.
right, it's been, whatever, it's been 15 years.
Does
It didn't
anyone
seem
know-
excessive to me,
Did
but,
those cost a lot more to begin with?
I don't know. I have not ever even tried to look that up. I should, because it may be in the computer. but-
He didn't, I emailed him, and he didn't think that he did them. But he said they're at
you
least
didn't do
15.
the last one?
He wasn't sure, but
It was a long time ago,
I have the email, but he pretty much said what.
I thought he said he did.
Specs and everything, yeah, one of the emails,
Right.
he still got all the
I just
specs.
got the one that Karen sent saying she brought the sign up, and he said X amount of dollars, things that you're gonna need, what Jessica just said, I'm not gonna repeat it all that. So I just wanted to make sure we were all on board with, I never saw it, looked at it, so
I think it did get some damage from the rocks.
well,
Yeah,
it's
I
laying
think
in a
I
pile of
saw
stone.
it, I saw it when it was lying down, I didn't see it in the mill building,
Right.
but it was broken. I mean,
He said the
it sure
post-
looked broken to me.
You could reuse the posts, but to refurbish.
No,
it.
but the sign itself was cracked, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's where all those boulders started.
Well, here's another question.
Water stuff.
Should we ask the guy to look at that sign too, or that one's gonna be okay for another 3 years?
Oh,
I got pictures of it.
did it look that bad? when
The
you-
edges look a little
Little-
feeble, but
Okay,
no, it looks like it's,
right.
I'm a painter, but I'm not a sign painter. It's a whole different deal. The
Well, right.
finishes, it's like,
Right.
so I really can't comment on it. I thought if there was just a couple scratches or a hole, I could putty up and match the paint, but
Right.
if it's, I never got over there to look, so.
Right. I thought that the reason why we were kind of talking about the other sign is because it was a loss, not,
Right.
you know what I mean? Whereas
Right.
the one at the top of Meadows Road, it's still pretty and it's, when it's clean
So,
and the snow melts. So I don't know. I'm open to it, but,
do we want to vote on it with a full board, or do we, was there kind of a sense of urgency on his end in the email? I couldn't figure that out.
they have a lot of business, so I think the idea was if we want to have it back,
Right.
in time for, you know, an end of mud season, kind of beginning, you know, town pride.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
say it can't be repaired though. So it's-
Terry, did you have something to add to that, or?
No, it just seemed to, I thought that there was a hole in it from hitting a rock when it went over.
It laid there for months.
Yeah, and then a piece also
He said-
broke, like
he
it
said-
broke,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Should
I stop it and start
it again?
My bad for not going, asking Keith to pick that up right away. I thought, I didn't know what,
Oh,
they
no,
were
there
on
was
it.
so much going
They were on
on.
that hill for
I mean,
a
it's-
couple of months.
It was there for long, but I think basically it was expected that it was a total loss.
I'm just looking at his email.
But, I mean, I'm trying to proceed,
Internet went out.
today, we have a quorum, but, you know,
Yeah, because my team.
Well,
if you wanna wait, we can wait.
No, it's not up to me. someone wants to.
I'll make a motion to approve replacing the town sign, on the south, and the north side of town.
I think it was for like $923.
Yeah.
I can't find it, of course. My magic Google email like makes things I look for.
You just have the internet, so Zoom is down.
That's down?
Yeah, everything's down.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You're still recording, we just don't have internet?
Yeah,
Oh.
but I might have lost all of what the gentleman said.
Oh, Keith, aw.
Um,
I'm sure he can repeat himself if you want.
Oh, this is nice to have cell service, right?
Oh,
Here it is, the attachments.
Crap.
Damn, how about
I'm connected to my other computer.
900, for the cost, at the cost of $932, by, Northern Vermont Signworks in Manchester Center, across from my office.
That's for a new sign,
For
for
the
the
new sign.
existing posts.
I'll second it.
What was the company?
Oh,
Now we have discussion.
Southern Vermont Signworks.
Okay.
So that's the motion, and it's been seconded.
And as part of the discussion, are they the only game in town? I mean, I have no idea. Are there other signs?
The little bit I know about signs, it seems to be a reasonable price for,
I was kind of shocked at a sign that the sign that complicated
I
that
thought
size.
it would be $3,000 or
He's-
$4,000.
Yeah,
It would be if I was
absolutely.
paying.
Signs are really
Okay, sounds like a
expensive.
good deal.
Right, and there are, right where he's located in Manchester, there's he has two competitors that you could walk to. They all have lots of business. Yeah.
To answer your question, we're not obligated to get another bid on that amount of money, and out of convenience, I think, and
Oh, both of you.
it's sort of being in the works.
Yeah.
We could ask for
No,
another, someone,
especially- No, I don't know.
Karen brought the sign up there for the guy to look, or somebody did.
Yeah, I think
That's the.
She might have remembered that he was the original one who did the work, because he was. He says that he was, yeah.
Okay. So that motion's on the floor. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of getting the new sign?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think it was inevitable. We're out of that discussion. That motion passes. Now, there's some excess weight permits that
Are they here, or where are they?
Where do we
Do
have
you
them?
know?
Underneath that. folder?
Underneath?
No,
No,
under
this is
folder
only,
itself.
oh,
I didn't see them.
you're trying to
So,
fool me.
You're gonna
Do you want-
have,
do
you
you want me
wanna
to-
go over them, Jessica?
Do you want me to read them out? Sure. The first is Suburban Propane. 2 vehicles, max rate requested for both, one is for propane, one is for fuel, but max weight requested is 33,000 pounds. And we don't discuss the amount, we don't,
No,
right?
it's like, do you
No,
usually
we have
have,
insurance for these guys.
the treasurer usually makes sure there's liability with it, and fees been paid.
It's not, they emailed it, so. it's not-
Okay.
Yeah, I take them off and put them in there, but I don't put them in there unless I have the certificate of insurance.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to read both, or?
Yeah, just the companies, and if they
Okay,
pay
and the
the
next-
fee,
Sure.
and they're,
Dead River Company, 2 vehicles. The first is a 2-axle vehicle with a max weight of, requested of 33,000. The second is a triple axle. Oh, by the way, they're both oil and LP gas. The larger one is a max weight requested of 58,000.
All right, do we?
I move to approve the Dead River Company and Suburban Propane overweight permit requests.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion about that? All those in favor? Aye, any opposed? All right, that's passed. We'll look at we'll review and approve the timesheets
No, these I don't think we signed, because it's in the record.
after the meeting
Yep.
and review the pay orders. Terry has sent those to us in advance, right?
I put some up Thursday and I
Right.
put some up today. The majority was on Thursday,
I looked at Thursday, so.
and I forgot to email.
You did an email, right? I was like, oh my God, how did I miss your email? Your emails are always like the first I look at.
We can look those over and while Terry's here, if we have
Yes,
questions.
yeah.
And thank you for coming to the meeting before I do
Yes.
that. Okay, here's a reminder for April 1st, no fooling. This is the deadline to renew the dog licenses. And I'm glad that I was reminded of that because I'm good for 2 myself. We're going to get the rabies shots Thursday.
Yeah.
Isn't that April 1st?
No.
No, Friday's
Okay.
April 1st.
So,
truthfully, you have.
yes, please license your dogs. It's not only revenue to the town, it's, a safety thing, but there's vaccinations and that kind of, it's illegal for them not to be registered, licensed.
Right, and vaccinated.
And they gotta be, they gotta have at least their rabies certificate before we'll license them, right?
Yeah, that's all we need. It's just another
Rabies.
copy.
All right, and here's another, thank you, here's another reminder for March 31st is Candidates Night, at 7 o'clock at the Town Hall. March 31st. So what night is that?
There's Thursday night.
Thursday night. All current people that are holding position in town, select board members, or whoever would like to come. That's where it's happening on Thursday night. Anything to add to that? Okay. All right.
Chance to ask questions.
Yep, you can ask questions about what your current members have.
Anybody wants to run?
If anyone's interested in running, or want to get involved, and maybe I will go. We have some open positions like health officers and other
Right.
things.
Right.
The
Volunteers for the fire department.
fire department. Always something, some civic duties that could be
Yes.
fulfilled. You'll be all the better for giving them a try.
Here.
Here's another big reminder that April 2nd is our town meeting at 10 o'clock Saturday at the town garage. And we'll have a sign out. Will that be in front of the town hall, or are we gonna leave it here?
Yeah, or where it is right now.
Right. So once again, this won't come out in time anyway. Maybe it will, before town meeting, this meeting on television.
Oh,
Well,
right.
okay,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a couple of days.
And if anybody reads it.
Okay.
And then I don't know.
It's usually a couple days.
Yeah.
How many views do we get?
Oh, thousands.
Like it.
What do you like? Yeah, I would think so, because today's Monday, so
We'll
by
probably-
Friday it'll definitely be posted.
We may post someone at the
Town hall to make sure people know where to go.
We'll move the sign down
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So on
Right.
like maybe
Okay.
Thursday.
Usually it goes to the Memorial Garden, and then it'll go across the street.
right.
It's like the gnome.
Well-
It makes its way around Jamaica.
Yeah, but then people see it. If you leave it in one spot too long, they don't
Right,
see it.
that's
Right,
true.
it becomes part of the background.
Yeah. Kind of like the sign on your property down there. I don't ever see it. I drive by it every day.
But people who are visiting do.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you drive
Right,
by every day.
right.
you see it.
I'm a little hurt by that, Jerry.
And that's a great segue into letting our clerk talk about our town report, which is, take it away, Sarah, you know more about it.
The town report was mailed last Wednesday. They are not in people's boxes yet. Hopefully they will be tomorrow. Praying. No one else to do that, whatever. So hopefully they'll be there. They have been mailed. I got the thing from the printer today saying they were mailed last Wednesday. So hopefully tomorrow, we do have a couple extra copies at the town office. If you don't get it tomorrow and you really want to look at it, please stop by and we'll give you one of the extra copies we do have. But hopefully they'll be in boxes tomorrow.
Is it okay on candidates night? I'll come and maybe grab a few in case people don't have them.
Yep. Yeah. Because all the extras were sent here and we got
Right.
on Thursday. So I'm like,
Right.
oh, everybody should get their town
Right.
reports. And then I asked everybody this morning, did you get your town reports? And everybody's like, no.
I didn't
no.
look
I
this
have to pull a deed anyway, so I'll grab some.
Okay, sounds good.
And then, would you like to speak to there was a potential meeting or someone asking if they could meet at the town garage prior to the, was that the school board thing?
I don't want to speak on that.
Okay. I don't have the email.
That was the
That's-
long-term, had to do with long-term planning, I believe.
We're going
And
to
they wanted to meet at like
Yes.
8 or 9 or something, same day?
9 o'clock and we're gonna,
Was-
one of their options was to meet at the Jamaica school if that was an issue, so Sarah and I thought that maybe that would be a good idea because of registration.
Yeah,
Too
it's,
much going on.
my
They had
advice is
originally
there's too much
scheduled
happening
it
between
for
nights.
the same time as town meeting, and then they realized the double scheduling, so they wanted to make sure people could go to this meeting and town meeting, so they asked if they could have it at the town
Right.
garage before town meeting, and I said, we're trying to get set up and get everything going and get people checked in, and the
It's kind
TV
of crazy
crew
for
will be
me.
setting up.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
So Andy and I both
Yeah.
thought it was best if they just kept it at the school. And
Yeah,
so
and
that's-
then they just need to wrap up in time to get over.
Right, and they said if they had it at 8:30, then it could get done at 9:30, and it would give people time to get from the school to the garage, so.
That would be my vote.
If I can respond to that email copy I got from you, I'll suggest that
Okay.
they take themselves up on their own suggestion to have it down there. Because it is busy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
120 people
crazy.
trying to get checked off,
Yeah, and there's
or we would
looking through the sound
consider it.
and the setup, and, yeah.
All right, any public concerns? We lost our Zoom, sorry about that,
Internet went down.
the internet.
Okay, I move to adjourn. Am I allowed to do that?
Yep, I was just gonna ask that, we don't need to executive
I'll second that
session.
motion.
Nothing
He's the
else?
one that usually.
I
I know Tom's always right.
Kate's like, I'm getting this
finally got a
time.
chance. I second the motion.
Okay,
Perfect,
all those, we don't really have to, but,
No.
that's okay, we'll let you.
All right.
all right, thanks, everybody.